I am Michelle Moragne-Morris, and in today's episode, I'm going to go over what I said are, I believe, the 3 reasons you struggle with people pleasing. Okay, the first reason is you have a history with people pleasing. It is something that has not just happened a few days ago, or as you encountered not being able to say no. People pleasing in you likely go all the way back to childhood. That's a long history. And some of you are trying to break patterns that you think started a few years ago that have actually been developing in you since you were a child. Think of like a squatter that has just positioned themselves in this home that somebody has not been to for a while. And just because you tell the squatter to leave doesn't mean the squatter is going to leave. You likely have to kick the squatter out, seal up all the doors, make it impossible for that squatter to get back in. People pleasing is the same way. Just because you get determined that I am not going to be a people pleaser anymore, I'm going to start saying yes, I'm going to start speaking my feelings, people are going to hear my voice, doesn't mean that it's going to just naturally flow. So the number 1 reason you have a history with people pleasing. Number 2, people pleasing started as a way for your body to feel safe. So let's go back to my first point of you have a history with it. People pleasing begins when your brain starts to do things to protect you, usually protect you as a child. You see, your rational brain as an adult did not process things the way that your child brain did. Your child self was very, very innocent, and you process things from your innocence and lack of experience. Therefore, you have held beliefs and formed beliefs that may not have been true. And as a way for your brain to protect you, it had to hold on to those beliefs as truth, and that has guided your decision making. What the heck do I mean by all that? I will give you an example. Let's say you were a young girl and you came home from school and you had a really hard day. You got a D on a test that you studied really hard for, and on top of it, some of the girls in the lunchroom left you out of the table. They wouldn't let you sit there, and you really felt left out. So you come home and you're really upset and you had a really hard day. And you tell your parents, I had such a hard day today. What happened? I got a D on my test and the girls at school wouldn't let me sit with them, and I just feel like a failure and I feel stupid, and why doesn't anyone like me? And your parents respond with, oh goodness, you're just being emotional again. Why would you think that? That's so ridiculous to think. Of course you're not a failure. You probably just needed to study harder. Those girls, they're probably just having a bad day. You just need to toughen up a bit, because let me tell you, when you get older, life gets way harder. Those are not problems at all. You need to suck it up and get tougher. So you are hearing this as a child, I need to suck it up and get tougher. What you have just heard as your childlike self is, wow, when I am upset, it's not really upset. I shouldn't be upset. I should just suck it up and be tough. So you're telling yourself, don't be upset. So as a result, you're going to hold back your feelings, hold back your emotions. Another thing you may have heard from that interaction is, my feelings are not important. Well, if this is how I feel and my parents are telling me I need to suck it up and get over it and be tougher, then these feelings that I feel right now are not valid and I need to get tougher. So I need to override these feelings that I'm feeling inside here, and my brain needs to just make me get tougher, okay? The third thing you may feel is, my needs and my voice and my emotions are not real. So I feel that they're real, but my parents, who I trust, know more than me, just told me my feelings are not valid. I am being emotional. I need to suck it up and I need to get tougher. So your brain now is going to do whatever it can to make these feelings that you know that you have are real, invalidate them. It's going to try to invalidate them because you don't want to feel this way anymore. You don't want to feel this hurt and this pain that you actually are feeling right now. So your brain is going to help you protect yourself. So it's that small step of your brain trying to protect yourself that has then formed pattern after pattern after pattern after pattern of your brain trying to protect itself. So you may now be a person who doesn't make your feelings known. You hide your feelings, you stifle them, because what's the point? Someone's just going to tell me I'm being extra, I'm being dramatic, and they're probably not valid anyway. You may be someone who feels that, well, my feelings aren't safe. I'm not a safe person. I don't have a person that I can vent to, that I can express my feelings to, so I better keep them to myself. And since I'm keeping them to myself, they're not really real anyway, right? So fast forward, you're now making decisions based off of you being a tough girl, right? You've taken on this identity of, I'm a tough girl, so I can do and I can handle whatever comes my way, right? So you're saying yes to things that are really hurting you, but because you have this tough girl persona and this tough girl defense mechanism, you are now taking on things that are too hard. So that started as a child. That didn't start when you were trying to get a raise and kept saying yes to all the work that the boss was giving you. That didn't start with the guy that kept asking you to do things that you were like, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. I don't really like going to this restaurant, but okay, we can go to this restaurant. I really want to do this, but you don't want to? Okay. That's what leads to those steps of saying yes when you really want to say no. The third reason I feel that overcoming people pleasing is very difficult for a lot of people is because you lack the proper implementation, right? So you now may have the knowledge of, wow, I need to overcome my people pleasing habits. I need to set boundaries. And so you try to set boundaries, right? You try to start telling people no, but then you kind of set the boundary starts to come down. Why? Because you are trying to set a boundary and you're trying to do something that doesn't feel natural to you. At first, setting boundaries feel really difficult. Setting the boundary isn't the hard part. Setting the boundary isn't really difficult. Keeping the boundary is what's difficult. And that's where I find that most people have difficulty in overcoming people pleasing. So you have the head knowledge of what boundary to set, but no one's taught you, well, what happens when they start pushing back and they start kicking and screaming and they start bucking against my boundary? Boundaries are like a fence. Think of your brain like a yard that has a bunch of grass that's been growing wild. You're ready to clean up this yard. But instead of cleaning up the yard, you put a fence up first. You put the fence up around. And that's okay. You want to close in the yard with the fence. But you think that that's all you have to do. Well, now you need to go in and work this yard, make this yard beautiful, clean it up. The fence is so intruders don't come in. The fence is to keep people at bay where you want them. It says, this is where you begin and this is where I begin. The fence shows where you begin and where I begin. But the problem is inside of that fence are a bunch of weeds, overgrown grass, flowers that are getting choked out by weeds. So I believe people struggle with people pleasing because they haven't gotten to the root of why they are struggling with people pleasing in the first place. And the root, in my opinion, is going back to one of the very first times where you were taught you were not enough, your voice didn't matter, where you didn't feel safe expressing yourself, where someone judged you and you took it on as truth. There are so many different things that play into this role of being a people pleaser. But I believe that when you get to the root of what caused that and you're able to pull that root out, now you can start cleaning up your yard. Now the weeds are being pulled out at the root and they're not coming up and choking out your flowers. Now we have this fence, the boundaries that are around the yard that are going to keep it beautiful. So boundaries are meant to protect you, but the first step before that is getting to the root of why you are struggling with setting these boundaries in the first place. How do you do that? Well, the good news is I actually have a workshop where I break down why you struggle with people pleasing, what physically happens in your brain as a result of the areas that you have struggled with, and how to overcome those specific problems and cover them with truth. I have a method that I go over in this workshop, my rest in peace method. It's when we recover the memory, when we identify the root, and then we pull it out. So in my workshop, we go through these steps and I help you identify there's many things that happen to attribute to being a people pleaser. We identify just one. We start with one. And when you start with one, you are able to see the healing that starts to take place in your mind and in your brain, and you start to reclaim your voice. And it really helps when you get understanding of why it started in the first place. A lot of you may be beating yourself up about why you were such a people pleaser. People pleasing carries a lot of shame because you feel like I should do better. I should know better. Right? I really struggled with people pleasing. And when I realized I struggled with people pleasing, there was so much shame that came with it because I came from a 2-parent home. I have parents that love me, that poured into me. I received a good education. I had standards. I had boundaries. And yet I still was struggling with people pleasing. And when I realized that, the shame was overwhelming until I understood why that happened in the first place. So if you would like more information on this, you can click the link below and join my mailing list. I announce when I have my people-pleasing workshops. In the meantime, I believe there is another step that helps overcome all of this, and that is being able to hear the voice of God. In this workshop, I help you hear the voice of God to help uncover the lies that have been hidden deep beneath. Now, some of you may not be Christians, and that is okay. You do not have to be a Christian to attend this workshop, but it is important that you believe in a higher power and that you understand how to hear the voice of the higher power. The higher power for me is God. I believe that God's voice is the higher power in my life. But in this workshop, we call on truth and we call on perfect love. When truth and perfect love speak to you and your heart, it uncovers the lies that are keeping you stuck. So I am running a workshop on how to hear the voice of God. You could also say how to hear the voice of truth, how to hear the voice of perfect love, because that is the force that will guide you into the sessions that I do go over in overcoming people pleasing. There is a wait list right now for the workshop of how to hear the voice of God. You can also find that in my link. It is a free workshop. I am very excited to share it with you because in my opinion, it has been pivotal in the changes that have been brought in about my life. Being able to hear God's voice has been pivotal in me choosing the right mate, choosing the right schools to send my children, choosing the right career path to have. It is so important that you are able to hear God's voice for your life. So I have 2 offers. You can join my email list so that you can hear when the Overcoming People Pleasing workshop starts, and my wait list for my free workshop, How to Hear God's Voice. So I hope that was helpful to you today. The workshops will help you greatly. You can listen to this again and take notes and even go through periods. You may start hearing things and you may start getting samples of your childhood, of like situations of when things like that did happen to you. And you can start processing those things on your own. But it'll be amazing because then you can come to the workshop and implement them as I give you the step-by-step ways to implement them to get to the root of your people pleasing. I'm so thankful that you joined today. I hope this was helpful. Stay tuned and I will see you next week.